right now on Sunday Square Off.
We're going to have our wall, and we're going to get it very strongly. The military is going to be building some of it.
President Trump ordering troops to the Mexico border.
Well, I would gladly work with the president when his ideas aren't stupid and detrimental to the United States.
An Arizona congressman firing back. The White House not having it.
If that congressman's so concerned, maybe he ought to show up and actually support legislation that would fix these problems.
The president claims there's a crisis. Governor Doug Ducey backs him up. But many wonder, crisis? What crisis? Good morning and welcome to Sunday Square Off. I'm Bram Resnick. If it's an election year, you can bet on immigration surfacing as a major issue, sometimes when you least expect it. President Trump surprised his own staff last week with an unwritten plan to ship the National Guard to the Mexico border. On today's show, you'll hear from Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego of Phoenix on why Trump is delusional and why the midterm elections are win or else for Nancy Pelosi. Our panel debates whether there really is a border crisis. Then, why are Republicans expanding school vouchers months before a statewide vote on killing another voucher expansion? And we verify how our lawmakers are making sure you can keep more guns if you go bankrupt. But first, I talked to Ruben Gallego over coffee late last week at Lola's in downtown Phoenix. I started our wide-ranging conversation by asking the Marine veteran what troops could do at the border.
Very limited because they're on U.S. soil, and by the Constitution, our troops are only allowed to do certain things. They don't have arresting powers of citizens or people or other people on U.S. soil. Last time they were deployed in Arizona, they didn't even have bullets in their rifles. They didn't have the power to arrest. They had the power to assist. They could call and spot, illegal entries and tell the Border Patrol where they are. But this is why we have the Border Patrol. This is why we put so much money into the Border Patrol for the last 10 years, so that we don't need to be using military personnel. This is a bad use of money. That money is going to come out of the Department of Defense. Money that we desperately need right now, money that we should be doing into training, into equipment, and the fact that we're going to use that money for something I think is going to be, could be done just as well and better by Border Patrol is really bad use of resources. It's a delusional problem. The reason the president is doing it is because he heard it on Fox News and therefore he's going to make policy. You shouldn't be making policy based off, what you're hearing, especially on a show that tends to be a little more aiming towards the scandalous.
The president said last week DACA is dead. Is DACA dead?
Well, DACA is not dead right now because the Supreme Court has given it a longer shelf life.
How long? How long could it go? How long could the courts keep this going?
Basically, until they rule. The Supreme Court rules on the merits of the case, on whether it is DACA was illegally rescinded by President Trump,
which might not be till 2019.
Correct. So in the meantime, DACA, as we know it, is going to continue. It still needs to be fixed. Now, the reason DACA is dead because the president killed it. President Trump killed this. He's trying to blame everybody but himself, which just tends to be his nature. But at the end of the day, he ended this. He can fix it, but he wants, usually how things go for him, he wants everyone else to take the blame and everyone to fix his problems. At the end of the day, we tried to bring good compromise. And I say we, I mean Congress, Democrats and Republicans try to bring a bipartisan compromise. We sucked it up. We offered even portions, a big down payment on the wall. At the end of the day, he just doesn't know how to make a deal.
Did Democrats blow their chance to make a deal during the shutdowns or possible shutdowns?
No, I mean, I think Donald Trump blew the deal, blew the opportunity to get a deal.
Democrats kept backing down each time.
We did, and that's part of the compromise. And, I have my disagreements about how they were doing this. But, at the end of the day, we were willing to give a lot, and he was about to get basically, I would say probably 25% of his border wall, and he's never going to get the border wall the way he's going right now.
Is DACA dead in Congress for this year?
DACA is dead for Congress in this year.
An issue that really could have a big impact on Arizona. The president and the Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross wanted to ask about resident citizenship in the 2020 census.
Yeah.
How could that affect Arizona?
Well, a lot of ways. One, just on pure funding, right? If people don't fill out their forms, part of the federal funds that come to Arizona comes from a formula. So if you are a taxpayer here, every time you send your dollar to DC, we get a certain amount of back, whether it's investments in roads, the airport, healthcare, whatever it is. If less citizens actually, or less people fill out the census, that means that that formula is going to be reduced, and we're going to end up receiving less of those of our taxpayer dollars back, even though the need's still going to be there. Two, we are a growing state. As a growing state, that means we would add more congressional districts. If we don't do that, we're probably going to lose representation compared to some of these older states, some of the East Coast states that are not as diverse as we are. So we lose both economic power and political power.
The flip side of supporters of that question is the argument that some of the representation right now is unfair. Your district in particular, I think just 49% of the residents of your district can vote, are eligible to vote. That's one of the smallest percentages in the country.
Right, it's also because it's the youngest district in the country.
Is it also because there are many undocumented immigrants in your district?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that's a little bit, but my district is also the third youngest district in the country with the average age of 28. So that's why you're going to have lower people eligible to vote. Look, this cuts both ways. If you end up redistricting these districts because there's people that can't vote, not just people that are undocumented can't vote, you're going to have some really small districts, and what you're going to end up doing is empowering the East Coast states more because they're older and they're whiter, right? So you're going to have states like Pennsylvania, like New York, to have more political power and clout than places like Texas, like Arizona, like Utah, which are younger and growing faster and are more diverse.
Paul Ryan's holding a fundraiser for Debbie Lesko in D.C. Kevin McCarthy is probably going to come here for Debbie Lesko in CD8. It is a safe Trump district, supposed to be safe. What is all that telling you, plus the $600,000 Republicans have poured in there?
Well, one, they just tells me they're scared. They know that the Republican brand is damaged. They know that Donald Trump is damaged. The Democratic candidate, Harrell, is a great candidate. And Debbie Lesko is not that great of a candidate. She is going to be supporting the Paul Ryan agenda, cutting Medicare, cutting Social Security. She's largely responsible for what's going on with education right now, the fact that teachers aren't getting the pay raises that they deserve, and the fact that our schools are crumbling. All that combined makes that race a lot more competitive.
Okay, more competitive, but seriously, plus 20 Trump district, plus 17 Republican registration advantage. Very old, much older voters.
It is an uphill battle, but if the Republican Party has to fight and spend this much money for these types of districts all over the country, it really tells us a lot about how this year is going to be.
Flip side for Republicans is Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi. You've been critical of Nancy Pelosi. How much of a drag is she for Democrats in this cycle?
I don't think it's going to be as much of a drag this cycle as it has been in the past, which I do agree it has been. It certainly wasn't in Connor Lamb's district, and I don't think it will be this time. Being the biggest drag you're going to have this cycle is going to be Paul Ryan and Donald Trump.
Should this be Nancy Pelosi's last term as minority leader?
Well, if we don't take back the House, absolutely. If we do not win back the House, she needs to step down because she has not delivered. You need to deliver if you're minority leader or if you're speaker. You have to deliver the agenda. But if we do not win back the House, then she's responsible and she needs to step down.
What are the odds Democrats take back the House?
I'd say about 70%.
And thank you to Lola's for letting us use their patio. When we come back, our panel debates whether there really is a crisis at the border. And the state's teachers say they have a team ready to negotiate with the governor. But is he ready? Stay with us.